Hi, I'm Ryan.
Hey, I'm Jesse, and you're listening to Your Therapist is Not Okay.
On today's episode, we're going to discuss what it feels like to have that sense that your therapist is a paid friend or something. We're going to tie this into the modern issue that's been discussed quite a bit lately about the loneliness epidemic, how we're using technology to seek comfort and connection with others, and when that works and when that doesn't work. So we're going to do this episode is going to be about that client side experience of it, and then we're excited to bring you part two, which is going to be about how do we talk about work with that as therapists.
We have done different iterations of this topic, um, a lot. I'm really excited to come back into it because it feels like it's an evergreen topic.
Hmm. Definitely, yeah. I know we've done like a whole episode before, kind of on the money of the money of the exchange of money in
Yeah,
therapy.
yeah.
Yeah, and so that is actually kind of something that gets a lot of attention and has a lot of tension to it, because money is tight, and the idea of needing to buy a friend is one that can feel painful and can become a barrier to the therapy itself. I'm kind of curious to hear from you, Jesse. What do you say when clients bring up this idea of like I have to pay you to be my only friend?
Oh, that one's tricky because I think in our episode on money, we focused on the money.
Yeah.
But wow, that breaks my heart to just think that, like, in some ways, there's a sense of you wouldn't be here unless I had to pay you. Like that sense of, do you really care about me? I think that's kind of mostly at the heart of that. And I don't think a
Mm.
lot of clients really know that that's going to happen to them when they enter therapy. A lot of clients will have a presenting issue. I want to come and work on this relationship with my partner, or I don't have confidence at work and I want to work on that.
Yeah.
What happens pretty quickly is that presenting concern goes away as we are navigating so much of getting to the root of what's going on. And as you do that, we start to open up other doors and avenues and ways of being, or how this actual confidence might be linked to so many other avenues of life. And it's actually not confidence at all, but self-worth. And we do these
Mm.
things and we get deeper and more entrenched. And what happens with that is the relationship becomes intimate. We become a source for a client. We become not therapists, but our names. I'm seeing Jesse on Wednesday instead of I'm seeing my therapist.
Yeah.
And that relational dynamic is almost always necessary for a client to then make that comment. Because it's in that intimacy that a client then realizes, wait, this is one-sided.
Mm. Recognizing the one-sidedness and then recognizing, as you were saying, that experience that they maybe didn't expect of this person matters to me. And I feel like some friendship type of feelings, and I rely on them to help me meet my needs and understand what's going on. For me, that can be unexpected and scary for a lot of folks who come to therapy for the first time thinking like I'm going to get solutions to problems. And
Yeah.
as you've heard on this podcast many times, solutions to problems is not the approach to therapy that we really take. Will some problems probably get solved? Sure. But it's not because we take this fixing approach and can just give you an answer in a couple sessions. So it's driven by that relationship, and that's what makes it feel scary.
Yeah, I think so. I've definitely heard a lot of comments
Mm.
come through from clients about this. I'm wondering what you've heard.
Yeah, I've definitely heard like quite a few things about, feeling like, well, you wouldn't be here if I wasn't paying you, has definitely come up. Um, I've worked in a lot of nonprofit spaces as well, and so sometimes that dynamic isn't there as much because it's
Mm.
covered.
Yep.
Um, and it's interesting how not having the exchange of money just kind of allows a lot of that to disappear. That's not a
Mm,
reality in most cases that is sustainable for providers or for the agency,
mm,
because gotta pay expenses, gotta like make ends meet just as humans as well. Um, what I also hear come up really often about money, and about that dynamic is that people like me, like there's a mutual appreciation of each other as client and therapist, and we enjoy the time that we have together, and that's authentic on my end too. With typically, I do enjoy my client work and the processing we do together, even though it is work.
yeah.
And I sometimes get that like, I wish I could pay you more kind of
Mm,
sentiment come up because I value our time so much.
yeah.
Um, And I think there's a necessity to moving away gradually with the client together from the friend vibe into a different kind of support as they build up their community, their friendship world. They hone those skills to have close friends. Um, what I do also sometimes say is that we can protect the way therapy is and the way we can show up for clients because it's work, because there are limits and boundaries and supports around it that allow it to be this really special time just for that client.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that we'll definitely be talking about that in the
Yeah.
next episode, exactly how we work with that. But what you're touching on is just that kind of aspect of a need, of wanting to pay you more. I've in the nonprofit world, it can also be this is your job. So you're just here because you have to be. Like it doesn't have to be necessarily financial for that constraint
Mm,
of being like, if I wasn't in this hospital setting or if I wasn't in this agency system, you would not want to be with me.
right.
Um, and I think that that's something that I've actually heard too, because we're
Mm,
talking right now um, like I how can I believe that you're going to care about me if I have to pay you to see you? So there's the financial element, but then I've actually also heard the one about, and often actually with tears, that like I wish we could go for brunch.
mm,
I know that you like dive bars, Jesse. I wish I could take you to my favorite one together. And I wish that if you came in and you saw me, it wouldn't be a thing. It could be fun. You could come
mm,
and meet my friends and we could like hang out and I could find out all about your life. There's that
mm.
desire for mutuality that I think comes in those sentiments.
Absolutely. And there can be a lot of tension exactly in that last part that you mentioned about like, I want to know about your life and get to know you, which isn't really quite the thing that we're doing in therapy. It's all there for the client. It's all about them. There can be,
Yeah.
I think, a real desire to be witnessed
Hmm.
that clients have. And I've definitely had clients like say, like, I wish you could come to this event with me. Whether just to be my support or just to kind of like see this community that I've been describing to you for so long and just get to kind of witness it. So I think that can be a tension with the kind of with the professional boundaries and limits too, is like if you were my friend, then you could come see these parts of my life so directly. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have this idea that's unhinged, but and I don't think we could do it. But I have often like when clients telling me about a scenario or going to their boss to ask for a raise or like have an argument with their partner, I kind of wish I was like the therapy in the room kind of thing of like just like having like a little like earpiece in where I could tell them what to say.
Like a 90s spy movie style.
Or like there was this really cool TV show Nathan for You that had it and like or just like be like, okay, so recognize his needs right now. Say it back so that he feels met. And then you could do this. And then I'd like have like this little like here and now moment. Okay, I know it's unhinged, but I've sometimes wanted that.
Yeah, no, I totally get that because in some of those scenarios, I'm like, I wish I could be there too.
Yeah.
I There's a very protective kind of maternal part of me that I think clients often appreciate that might drive some of these relationship feelings, but that I'm like, this isn't the focus that we're going to talk about right now. It's not about me, but like, I'm really pissed at that person that did that. I'm really mad that that person said that to you. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. We're going to talk therapeutically about this and connect this with your past, but first, screw them.
I know. One of my favorite things to say to clients is like, give me their address. I'll egg their house. Anyone that's my client list will be like, yeah, she does say that.
Not the egging.
So economically unfeasible right now, but I wanted to, want to do it. Like, how dare she?
It's also adorable that it's like, like you're very angry, but like it's not an egregious level of violence.
Absolutely. It's kind of and I think that's the rapport you get with a client. And so then there's this aspect of like, you're funny, like you're on my side. Like we
Mhm.
actually, if you've ever had a client for more than 5 sessions, maybe shorter than that, you create this shorthand together
Yep.
and got private jokes going. And like you guys
Mhm.
have this way you meet each other. And it's different for every single person because you're building brand new relationships with these people. And it is so real.
Yeah.
And so I get this feeling from them. Like literally the other day, my therapist said that she doesn't find normal people at all interesting. So she actually loves seeing me. And I had my thought, I was like, I am definitely this woman's favorite client. Literally thought that and texted someone that. I was like, you'll never know what my therapist said to me today. Bam. There's a relationship there, and it's felt by both parties, but one party gives you everything, and the other party is there to listen to it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And that makes things really complicated to have that kind of deep relationship without the reciprocity of vulnerability. The vulnerability is unequal. So there is often, when especially it comes up as a complaint of like, oh, I feel like you're only here because I'm paying you. I think that's often coming from these moments where there's a lot of pain, where things are
Mm,
feeling really vulnerable, really raw. Clients often feel so exposed. I know, as a client at times myself, I've felt like the level of just like all my shit is out here
mm,
and I'm very vulnerable. That can be painful.
yeah, it can be. And also, there's this element of truth to what they're saying, which is also painful, like in the sense of
Yeah.
if a client no longer paid us, they're not wrong. They would no longer see us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does depend on them being in this space at this time, committing to this structure, this boundary. That means that we get to have that. I don't get to
Mhm.
decide when my clients see me.
No.
They do. And in that way, they're not wrong.
No, absolutely. I think that's like there's guilt even in hearing that question because we know that the answer is you're right. There's absolutely truth to that. And there are times that we'll work with clients if we have a sliding scale option, or there are times that we'll do like, well, maybe we'll meet biweekly or monthly to kind of manage the expense if the expense is overly burdensome because of financial
Mm,
troubles. But yeah, it is something that we do professionally that we have to be compensated for. 'Cause that's how we live our lives in a capitalist environment. But that can be so unsettling and painful to acknowledge. And from the moment the client asks it, they know it. They already know it.
that this is their life and this is our job. Like,
Yeah.
wow, even just saying that I didn't want to say it, but it's so true. I saw an Instagram of a therapist saying like, I'm not always a therapist. That's
Yeah.
my career. That's my job. Just like you're not always an accountant. Like as like,
Right.
when you leave the office, you get to be yourself again. And I think that is a bitter truth that can be really tricky when in that 50-minute session, we are so deep and so intimate. And it is a real relationship, which we will get into, but it's a rupture in some
Mhm.
ways. Um,
Yeah.
of being able to start to see that the veneer of that intimacy does have boundaries.
Hmm.
And oof,
Yeah. Absolutely. And as you perfectly said earlier, like we'll have a lot to say about that next episode and kind of the therapist side of that, what we think about that, and why in a lot of ways it's a good thing that those boundaries and limits are there that actually allow us to do the thing that you want us to keep doing, that
Ooh,
your
good
friends can't do
foreshadowing.
24/7, right?
I love that.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Wanted to kind of acknowledge, like as we said towards the beginning when we were describing this episode, that this shows up a lot recently in my mind. It's always been a thing, but recently there's this kind of loneliness epidemic that
Yeah.
folks have been talking about more and more, feeling isolated, not feeling like they have a strong community and connections. It's discussed a lot with men's mental health as well, men feeling like very isolated, like they don't have close friends, they just have buddies, if even that. And people are feeling that pain. So that can often be one thing that leads to folks feeling like the only deep connection they have is with their therapist. And
Oh,
that's what makes it painful to acknowledge the payment thing. It
oh
doesn't
yeah.
come up so often with clients that I know who have a big community
Oh wow. That's a really good point.
because
I didn't think about that.
they have friends.
And our social location, we both live in huge cities.
Ah,
Ha. Ah, that's a good point, Ryan.
oh, thanks,
Uh,
Jesse.
you're right. Because I think that we are individualistic in North
Hmm.
America. Toronto is an incredibly lonely city. Long work hours is a huge point of pride here.
Hmm.
Um, and I could say this for New York as well. I don't have to just make it my social location. It kind of goes for both. Like the cost of living is so high,
Insane.
and you have to work to make ends meet here. Unless you don't, and no judgment. Um, but I think that because of that, these long work hours, maybe the people you're seeing right now are colleagues.
Hmm.
You might not have the bandwidth afterwards to go to a community center. We're more divorced from ever from certain religions or like from going to church on a Sunday. So you don't have community there. There's so many aspects of our life right now, even living in a condo where some of your entertainment might be paying a condo for their activities. There's a couple like
Hmm.
rooftop parties that can happen on condos. And it's as much as that's excellent that you can have something, it is in short supply from real connection.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's, really driven too with more and more migration to big cities, local, like from international and national sources of migration, looking for financial opportunity out of necessity or out of desire, maybe wanting to connect with like a big city culture, wanting to have those experiences. And because so many people are moving and relocating to the big cities, that also means that everyone's new there. Everyone's
Yeah.
starting from scratch with community. We have probably fewer people these days that are staying near where they grew up, and hence just
Mm,
like running into people that they knew in school and at various jobs that they had, and are like, near enough to visit family regularly on the weekends or something. People just having those connections that they can rely on and know that they have some support system. We have
mm,
people who move to a city alone, or maybe with a partner, or maybe with one friend, and that's the only person that they know when they arrive. And
yeah.
it takes a long time to build community.
It really does. And one thing that I've really, really hated is
Mm,
those local places often get turned into condos.
mm,
I felt like a real Torontonian when I lost Betty's East in King East,
mm,
because it was lovely. You got to like see the same people. You kind of got to build a community, and it's been vacant now for 3 years because they're going to build a condo. And
uh,
it's like you get these places that you might be able to do something, and it gets taken away. Or though, like those cute little coffee shops can get turned into something that's a bit more sterile, which
mm.
um truly does mean that people are there to get in and out or work on a laptop. It's not about socializing.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And you were touching on there too, like some traditional things that were sources of reliability and connection. Like I was mentioning being near to families, and also you mentioned religion as well. A lot of folks feeling a little bit more distant from religion, so they don't have the network that they may have had, or that their
Yep.
parents may have had with their faith, and the people that they share it with. So kind of what I think of as being the old script and pattern of life and relationships that we used to kind of have feel predictable. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to get married around this age and start my own family and then spend time with the grandparents. And like, you kind of had this script that of course wasn't true for everyone. I'm not saying that everyone had this or benefited from having it, but there was a little bit more of that predictability and a little bit less displacement in many places.
Mhm.
And so there are pros and cons, right? It does mean that people are able to connect with different communities and different activities that are located in the big cities. Maybe they're able to live more authentically, thinking about like queer
Yep.
folks,
100%.
folks that want to transition, things like that, like are maybe enabled to do so because of this more individualistic culture. But then there is still the isolation and the separation that comes after that.
Yes. And now moving out of the family home comes younger, often. And then if you move away for a job opportunity, you're away from family.
Mm,
You're usually away from your friends that you've grown up with. Hopefully, you've made some friends in college or university if you did go there, but it's a transient place anyway, the school
yeah.
system. And so you're making a new community. And in a digital age right now, where it's actually very much away from those local haunts or those local kind of
Mm,
institutions that might have provided that meeting people, as I call, in the wild. Um, but instead now you're swiping or you're doing something that's based on technological
yeah.
kind of social structures.
Yeah. Yeah. And briefly, because you mentioned university and college, it's often a time in the lives of folks that do go there that they remember very fondly and that they feel very connected. And if we think about the way that they're set up,
Yeah.
yes, they're expensive and inaccessible in many ways. But the way that life is set up there, you live near campus or on campus, at least at the beginning.
Hmm.
There are like built-in dining and recreation spaces. There's a bunch of clubs and organizations. There's an expectation that people will meet new people and be
Hmm.
out and collaborative. Like it is actually designed to be a community. And
Yes.
most places, including big cities like Toronto and New York City, are not designed like that. They're designed to sell things and to make profit,
Yeah.
in a non-enclosed ecosystem, so to speak. So you don't have a bunch of that stuff unless you very actively and intentionally work hard to do it. And exactly as you're saying, Jesse, like so much of that has been offloaded into apps. Apps for finding a community group, apps for finding, a meetup, apps for dating. And you'll even see more and more people on dating apps that say they're just looking for friends
Yeah.
because
I actually
they're
met some
lonely.
friends. Yeah, I met some friends on Bumble BFF. Shout out. Um, yes, I did choose a Winnipegger, or someone from Scotland, but I made friends that way. And
Yeah.
but that's actually, just as an aside, that's actually really tricky because if you're not vibing with somebody on a date, it's so easy to say you're not feeling it. How do you tell somebody that you're not vibing as a friend? It was very complicated. Like, like with at least with like a romantic person, it's like I just don't know if I see a future here. But you can't say that to a friend. Such a rejection. Anyway, I struggled with it.
I hear you. I hear you. Absolutely true. Uh, and I think, a lot of those apps can be interesting in that they're very low risk to participate in and to swipe yes or send a quick message. But that also means that there's a different kind of way of interacting where people maybe go more for interacting with as many people as they can and less on depth. And there's also not a pressure to respond right away or make up your mind pretty quickly about like, do I want to try this out or not? If someone is standing in front of you, you got to make a move. You got to decide like, it was nice chatting, have a good night, or like, do you want to talk some more? Like you have to say or do something to continue or not continue the conversation. And so now we have kind of a little bit more of a disconnected culture around those interactions. And I know a lot of folks who have felt, I myself have felt a lot of pain and just like, no one's even answering me.
Yeah.
And I hear that from clients and other folks too, where they're just like, I would love it if people would just tell me, hey, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Instead of it's just into the void. There's a lot of our social interaction energy that just goes into the void when we're using online platforms.
That can be exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the weird ones that you and I are seeing now is therapy apps.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting when we think about the way Jesse and I do therapy and we think about like the frame that we talk about and like there's these limits and confines and boundaries or whatever. And then there are therapy apps that are like, be in touch with someone right away, 24/7. And to me, I'm like, I'm not sure that that's therapy. It does feel like maybe it's mental health support of some kind. Sometimes they're AI driven. Sometimes
Yeah.
there are practitioners on them. Often it's a mix of each. Um, but it kind of does mean that people might seek temporary support from whoever or whatever is available and not build the relationship. And that's really what we're talking about in this episode is building relationships that are meaningful inside and outside of professional contexts.
Yes.
And I sometimes wonder about therapy apps. Is there space for the relationship to be built? Or maybe, I don't know. What do you think, Jesse?
In the start of our episode, we talked about that real relationship that's built in therapy with us.
Yeah.
And that takes time, it takes grit, it takes getting to know each other. I've said this other places, I'm going to say it here again. It takes a risk, just like it does in real life.
Mm.
Because I can say something to you and you could laugh at me, diminish me, belittle me. You could do so many things, but you chose care. Like I have an eyebrow and it raises sometimes when I question a decision someone's making. That's real. And we can talk about it. Like it's a real time relationship and that's where the pain comes in.
Hmm.
Apps don't necessarily give you that.
Yes.
And yes, you'll have immediacy. At what cost would be the thing I'm going to ask. This has come in especially this year, I would say,
Hmm.
with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of my clients use it, and I use it. Sometimes if I have a question, I really like it gives really good answers. Like, and it often will give you advice. And it's not often just like it's scouring from the whole internet. It's often will give better advice than I could give a client, sometimes, because it has this plethora of information. It can draw back like all of that information into its answers. But it's also often a reflection of what a client wants to hear, how they phrase their questions. It is a medium that's always trying to please.
Yeah.
And so it's this aspect of an extreme form of immediacy that is definitely something that doesn't necessarily provide depth. And one thing I've noticed a lot is it'll always praise my question.
Hmm.
And it always gives a clickbaity next thing for me to stay in the app for.
Yeah.
Do you want me to draft the right thing to say here with 5 easy steps so it really packs a punch? It's like there's so much that it's trying to do to keep you in it. But the inauthenticity of that is something that can be really jarring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it gives, like you're saying, it gives that immediate gratification, but it doesn't necessarily do the thing that the real face-to-face, person-to-person does of growing your skills to have authentic in-person relationships or to deal with being misunderstood, being rejected, being disagreed with. It doesn't quite give you that same experience. We need risk.
Yes.
We need risk for things to be like they are with other people. Other people are unpredictable. They always
Yeah.
are. They always will be.
Yes.
And so if we don't have that unpredictability, we can't learn how to prepare for it. we even see this to show up with like clients who maybe had family or a parent who took care of everything. And then to
Mm,
them, doing anything feels unmanageable. Well, you need to
yes.
practice. You need to build your skills to do that,
Yeah.
right? And so that's something that the immediacy and praise of ChatGPT might not offer, even if it does sometimes offer some strategies, some solutions, some means of support. I not an AI user, but I'm not here to judge anyone that finds like that support out of it, especially when they're really struggling or in pain. Um, so I think for some people maybe it has a role that it helps them. Maybe it helps them get to therapy too,
Mhm. Yeah,
which is great.
absolutely. One
Yeah.
of the things you were just saying that I was interested in is um the element of time.
Mm,
You were talking about like this immediacy. I can have you at my beck and call. I can ask the next question and I really have to wait seconds before I get the answer. And I was thinking about time.
yeah.
I said 5 sessions usually for us to start to find our pattern. That's 5 different weeks if you're seeing someone weekly.
Yeah.
And it usually takes a lot longer than that to really have that in-depth, cohesive therapeutic alliance. And
Yeah.
I thought about you and I actually just now. Like, I
Hmm.
think one of the big feedbacks we get from this podcast is it's like sitting in a living room with you and I.
Yeah.
And people, hopefully you do too, like people feel welcomed into our space. Ryan and I have known each other for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like we have been through thick and thin with each other. This is not two people that have decided to do a podcast. These are two people who are best friends that have gone through so much together.
Yeah.
Time takes time to be able to have rapport, time to be able to feel trust with somebody else. And I think that this immediacy culture is denying us time.
I think you're very right on that. Like that, we've become very impatient
Yeah.
because of how quickly and readily and convenient things are, that just even acknowledging that like to really build a strong community in a place takes years, not weeks or months,
Yeah.
is can be a tough pill to swallow because you're seeking connection and feeling isolated during all that time. Um, and there is something about constant availability, which I think is a pro and a con in the way we expect to hear from people and get feedback from people and feel a connection. We
Mm.
always have our devices with us. We're always in connection with the world. We can expect an answer to texts like the same day, if not within the hour. And Jesse and I laugh because we're both, depending on the situation, we can both be pretty bad about that.
I have this weird thing I do where if you're in the, you'll know this. If you're in the room with me, my phone's not usually. I've
Yeah.
actually usually never know where it is. It's my one way of trying to be connected. Um, I don't
Hmm.
actually mind if other people have their phones with them. That's the common one, but I just never really think about it. Which also means I never take pictures at parties, which suck, but you know.
Ah,
Um, but I think what if we tie in this idea of time and immediacy, clients who have put in the time are the ones who make these comments to us.
yeah.
Very rarely am I getting a comment of I have to pay you to have a relationship or I want to go for brunch second session.
No.
I'm still therapist at that point. I'm not Jesse. And so this aspect of like you have this deep relationship that's probably been cultivated over a lot of sessions. Like you've put in the time.
Yeah.
You've actually done it and we are
Hmm.
there. I think that's the pain too.
Hmm. Yeah. Feeling how much that they've put into it and knowing that it still has that limitation. I think there can be sometimes some anticipation of loss with that, knowing that
Mm,
like when I need to end therapy for whatever reason, whether it's because I'm doing great and I'm done now, maybe I'll come
mhm.
back at some point if I needed to or something, but I'm ready to stop seeing you regularly,
Yeah.
means I'm gonna lose a friend.
Yeah.
Means I'm gonna lose these inside jokes, the way that we talk about things, the sense of connection. I'm not gonna see your eyebrow anymore.
Yeah. And we feel that way too, BTW. There's a whole episode we talk about on endings.
Yeah.
No idea where. We've had too many episodes, but it's somewhere. What do you think about this aspect of relationship and therapy. We're talking about this and we're making it about loss because we're not friend, we're not parent, we're not
Hmm.
these things in their life. We're not the conventional community or person that's going to be in their life. We're therapists. And I feel like maybe the way we're talking about relationship is within that frame of reference.
Hmm.
What do you think about that? Like, is there a different way of conceptualizing that? Or is there a misconception right now that would be kind of cool to think about?
Hmm. It's a good question that there is maybe some kind of way that we're getting this a little bit mixed up, that maybe we're not locating where therapy is in your relationships in the best way. That if we could differently understand that, that we're not in the circle of friends. We're
Yeah.
actually outside the circle, kind of on the edge of town. We're more in the location where like the healer would be, the guider would
Mm.
be. Yeah.
I like that. And that is your cliffhanger for next episode when we talk about how we actually feel about this from our POV.
Yep. Tune in next time. We'll tell you all about the therapist's thoughts and feelings on the topic. Ta 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 ta. You're
Not
not
okay.
okay.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, check out our others. And stay tuned for even more episodes coming up.
Follow us and leave a review on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And please tell your friends.
You can also follow us on Instagram too at Your Therapist Is Not Okay. Also, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, send us a DM there. We would love to answer your questions. And a lot of our topics come from listeners just like you.